Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and The Beast Within on TNT.
Hey, Joe Bob Briggs again, and I don't like endings like that. They killed the tall man, so what's the point of bringing him back 5 minutes later? I guess they had to, though, because they had to make Phantasm 3, which came out in 1994, and I think that thing went straight to video. But some people like number 3 a lot better, but I think Phantasm 2 doesn't get the credit it deserves. It's no Phantasm 1, but it's a pretty decent flick, filmed in a warehouse in Chatsworth, California. Okay, I want to mention that next week on Monstervision we have Orca, the Dino De Laurentiis killer whale flick from the 70s, the one about the whale who challenges Richard Harris to a death duel in the land of the icebergs with Bo Derek in a supporting role. And then our second feature is the Philadelphia Experiment 2, the time travel movie which violates the first and second laws of thermodynamics, which I won't go into right now, and you can thank me for that, all right? And speaking of enormous philosophical issues, one thing I've always said about our next movie is any movie that starts off with a woman being diddled by a giant katydid can't be all bad. Of course, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about The Beast Within, mutant insect sex. And you know what happens when you have mutant insect sex, right? 17 years later, you get a mutant insect teenager. And if you don't watch that boy, he's going to be sneaking out of the house, transforming into a cicada and chewing clean through the spaghetti-strap T-shirts on old fat guys. The only thing that makes this movie different from your usual giant katydid insect sex classic is that this kid only eats people named Kerwin. Which is fine with me, because I used to know this guy named Kerwin. He was one of those guys that when he walked, both of his arms would swing in the same direction. You know guys like that? I actually kind of enjoyed this picture, and I am not being cynical like usual. So let's take a look at those drive-in totals. We have 16 dead bodies, 1 dead dog, neck munching, embalming needle through the chest, electrocution, disemboweling, head rolls, hand rolls, 3.5 stars. Check it out, and I'll be here all night long giving you all kinds of insect sex information that you'll need for the full enjoyment of the picture. You know, there have been times in my life when insect sex sounded pretty good. Well, now that I think about it right now, well, I mean, if I was really drunk, you know, I'd use protection. Oh, yeah. You know, we have hardcore, depraved cyber geeks who never miss a single week in the Monstervision chat room. Some of them hadn't changed clothes or showered in 3-4 days, and they get in this kind of computer keyboard psycho freakazoid zone, and they want to discuss Antonioni with me. Check this out at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision, but whatever you do, don't mention the early work of Francois Truffaut when he was a critic for Cahiers de Cinema. That drives them crazy.
Come meet all the Monstervision fans in our chat room at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision. Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and The Beast Within on TNT.
The Beast Within. This is one of those great flicks about evil southern towns where everybody knows the town's secret and they're so inbred that they all look like they have brain damage. I've been to towns in Mississippi like that. Come to think of it, I have several relatives living in towns like that. Come to think of it, there is this one secret that I can't talk about. Well, I'd talk about it myself, but the family wouldn't like it. It could affect the safety of my kin. Anyhow, let's watch some more of the giant katydid movie, starring Ronnie Cox and Bebe Besh, the husband and wife that just might have a son who's an insect. Actually, I know who fathered the mutant Siamese twins of Starkville, Mississippi. The ones that killed Fletcher D. Terwilliger with an electric can opener. It was the fact that it was an electric can opener that made it so strange. Where'd they get all that cord and who sold it to them?
Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and The Beast Within on TNT.
Is it my imagination, or is there a little weird sex subplot going on here? Like the way that fat newspaper editor in the dirty t-shirt, the way he looked at Michael when he was fixing up that hamburger meat.
Yeah.
And the way Amanda's pa got so jealous when he drove up in his pickup. There's no telling how much diddling around is going on in this town, and no telling who's diddling who, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. Fortunately, the insect werewolf is on our side, right?
Yep.
Okay, roll it. Hey, Joe Bob Briggs here, and look at all these emails that just poured in today. Let's just read one. Hey, cowboy, did your mother smoke crack when she was pregnant with you? Well, we just love to hear from all our wonderful Monstervision fans, and there are two ways you can do that. You can write to me in care of Monstervision at 1010 Techwood Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318, or you can email me at monstervision@turner.com. And you can also visit the Monstervision website at tnt.turner.com/monstervision and make my life a living hell directly from there. Let's try another one. Dear Joe Bob, you said... A lot of mail came in today.
Catch Monstervision with Joe Bob Briggs and Reno the Mail Girl every Saturday night on TNT. Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and the Beast Within on TNT.
Oh, he just saw the old embalming needle through the chest trick. See, I think they want us to think this is a werewolf movie, but we know that something is not too wolfy about him at this point. You know, I saw this flick when it first came out in the theater, and I seem to remember a little more slime glophola flying off the screen. Has Ted been cracking down on us again? Are we hacking these babies up for Monstervision? Come on! It's after midnight. Show us some innards the next time Michael goes psycho. How about it? Censorship in America. Don't even get me started. I'm going on Nightline if this keeps up. Better yet, Jenny Jones. I'm going to Jerry Springer. I love Jerry Springer. Lay off that guy. Fist fights happen all the time. Forget it. Ernie, you messing with me?
Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and the Beast Within on TNT.
That's the great character actor RG Armstrong, by the way, as the doctor who gets attacked by Michael. Something about RG, I always just love that guy's performance, no matter what he's doing. Many of you remember him in two other Monstervision favorites, as the General in Predator, and as one of the old druids in Warlock the Armageddon. But here's what I want to know. Why is Michael only killing guys named Kerwin?
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead and roll it. Maybe they'll tell us. RG Armstrong, he's like M. Emmett Walsh, if you know him, or Harvey Keitel. Always a little bit oily.
Yeah.
You know, we have hardcore, depraved cyber geeks who never miss a single week in the Monstervision chat room.
Yeah.
Some of them hadn't changed clothes or showered in 3-4 days, and they get in this kind of computer keyboard psycho freakazoid zone, and they want to discuss Antonioni with me. Check this out at tnt.turner.com/monstervision, but whatever you do, don't mention the early work of Francois Truffaut when he was a critic for Cahiers de Cinema. That drives them crazy.
Come meet all the Monstervision fans in our chat room at tnt.turner.com/Monstervision. Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and the Beast Within on TNT.
Getting kind of interesting after the slow part in the middle. For those of you who care, The Beast Within was filmed in Raymond, Mississippi, which, if you know the state, it's about 20 miles southwest of Jackson, where they had the Civil War's Battle of Raymond. Kind of a wimp name for a Civil War battle. Had to be embarrassing at the Confederate soldiers' reunion. You know, where'd you see action? Bull Run, Gettysburg, Raymond. But anyway, the hospital scene in the movie, like the one we just watched where he was yelling, "Kill me, kill me, kill me," those were all shot at this abandoned hospital in Jackson, the old Baptist Hospital, which was closed in 1975 and is a real spooky place. Lots of dead Baptist ghosts hanging around in there, I guess. See, you watch Monstervision, you learn this stuff. They don't tell you this stuff at Turner Classic Movies, you know. They tell you how Elizabeth Taylor got a hickey on her elbow in 1957, stuff like that. My buddy Robert Osborne, he knows all that stuff, and that's why we don't let him come around here anymore. Okay, roll it. Bob is still banned from the building, isn't he?
Yes,
Right?
sir. Oh, yeah.
You know, he starts telling those Betty Davis stories, you know? It's nothing personal, but it's 9 in the morning. He's telling you how she did the dying scene in Dark Victory and everything. Bob, please, go away.
Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and the Beast Within on TNT.
Was that a great transformation scene, or was that a great transformation scene? That one was as good as the one in American Werewolf in London, you know? And then that actor, Paul Clemens, is that actor. He sheds his skin. Ah. All right, this last part makes sitting through the whole thing kind of worth it, doesn't it? But remember, the killer cicada with the vengeful brain of Billy Connors still has love for Amanda, who was last seen barreling through a barricade on the highway. Does that about sum everything up?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I thought so. Roll film. Actually, I should say roll tape, because they don't use film anymore. I have to say that, or I'll get letters from the video nerds, you know. It's called videotape, Joe Bob. Film is composed of celluloid. Well, thank you very much for the science lesson, all right?
Back to Joe Bob's Last Call and the Beast Within on TNT.
So let me get this straight. Lionel Kerwin put Billy Connors down in that cellar and fed him dead bodies to keep him alive. But one night he got out and raped B.B. Besh in the woods. And then 17 years later, B.B. Besh's son turns into a giant avenging cicada. So how does a cicada come into that picture? Why does he become a cicada? Did they explain that? I just missed it. You would think they would explain it, because Tom Holland wrote that script, and Tom is a great horror writer. I'm going to have to talk to that boy. Anyhow, I want to remind you that one more time that next week, Orca will be our featured presentation, the killer whale who will not rest until he eats Richard Harris. And we'll follow that up with the Philadelphia Experiment 2, a time travel flick that doesn't make a lick of sense, to tell you the truth. And that's it for me, Joe Bob Briggs, reminding you that in any organization, there is always one person who knows what's going on. That person must be fired. You didn't like that one? Did you guys hear about the two blondes who were working on a house? And one blonde is nailing up siding, and she reaches into her nail pouch and she pulls out a nail, and sometimes she uses the nail and the other times she just tosses the nails over her shoulder. And so the other blonde notices what she's doing, so she asks her, why are you throwing those nails away? And the first blonde says, well, if I pull out a nail and it's pointed towards me, then I throw it away because it's defective. But if it's pointed toward the house, then I nail it in. And the second blonde yells at her, you moron! The nails pointed towards you aren't defective. They're for the other side of the house. Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die. A blonde finds out that her husband is having an affair, so she goes to a gun shop and buys a handgun. Next day she comes home, she finds her husband in bed with a beautiful redhead. Well, the blonde is so distraught that she takes the gun and she puts it up to her own head. And the husband begs and pleads with her not to shoot herself, and the blonde says, shut up, you're next.